Welcome to Wanderpaws Down Under. I'm Dan,
I'm Anita.
and together we're travelling around Australia with our dog Wally, our cat Paprika, our off-road caravan, and our trusty turtle Hilux.
And we're here to bring you some pet travelling tips on the road. And I think we are currently in Kununurra.
Well, not currently, but
Well, this stop is Kununurra. And it's not just Kununurra. We actually cover a little bit more in this episode. Kununurra and the Bungle Bungles, Lake Argyle, Ivanhoe crossing, and a few other little pet-friendly things that you might not have realised you can actually do in this part of Western Australia.
yeah, and
Our last stop in Western Australia, really.
absolutely. And just when we thought we couldn't have any more fun after the Gibb River Road and all the amazing experiences and some regretful experiences to forget on there, came this place. And what a way to finish our Western Australian adventure right before we popped over the border into NT. There's just actually quite a bit of pet-friendly things to do around here.
It's true. And it was super duper hot.
Of course.
So I think that if I'm thinking of the weather in Kununurra, it was most definitely the hottest stop on our trip thus far.
I would liken it to a steam room.
Yeah.
Like a steam room that you go into in a leisure centre. It was just stifling. I was looking for the words there.
So we've got the tips on how you can look after your pets in this kind of environment as well.
But before you proceed any further, remember to hit that subscribe button. Give us a comment, give us a like. We'd love to hear your feedback and connect with our fans.
Yes, please.
Onwards we go. Kununurra, 827 kilometres from Darwin, 1,043 from Broome.
It's
via
kind of
the
in the middle of
Blacktop.
nowhere, really.
Yeah, you are remote. But to be honest, although it is remote and far away from the major population centres, especially after the Gibb, it was actually such a relief to get to a town.
That has a shop.
I'll call it civilisation because
It's true.
it did feel like that, and
It did.
I guess it is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there was, places you could buy food, places you could buy drinks. You
There was
could
a
go out
Coles.
for dinner if you wanted to. But to be honest, we'd heard some things about Kununurra being a little bit rough around the edges. And look, while it's not, I guess, after being on the Gibb, after visiting a lot of, remote parts of Western Australia, I know, it kind of was just the same as everywhere else. It wasn't that rough in my eyes.
Didn't feel any more dangerous or
No.
safe than anywhere else
Yeah.
we'd been.
At this point in our trip, I think Kununurra was fine. We had no issues with anyone there. And to be honest, it's actually quite beautiful. The town itself is pretty well kept. It wasn't messy. It wasn't really, the shops were good. I thought it was great, to be honest.
It's pretty compact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Given the fact you're in the middle of nowhere.
And look, the temperature, as we mentioned before, was pretty steaming hot. We're talking about 37, 38, 39 degree
I think
days.
it got up to
with-
40.
Up to 40
on one
and
day?
and with 70% plus humidity. So
Yeah.
it was really, really difficult place to kind of end up and take your breath with the pets. But with that in mind, we decided to go for a powered site at a caravan park.
Absolutely. And I did a little bit of research around, and look, some of the options at this point were a little bit pricey because we'd just kind of done a couple of expensive places like Home Valley and El Castro. So we were kind of looking at the best price point, but also pet friendliness. So Town Caravan Park, which is kind of right in town near Kununurra, only about a few minutes away from the shops, and I think it's opposite the Toyota. So it's pretty much in the smack of town.
Yep. In the smack
In
of
the
town.
smack of town.
That's a new one.
Bang, smack. Isn't there a word?
Smack bang in the middle of
smack
town.
bang. That's what I meant to be. That's what I was trying to say. So kind of smack bang in the middle, in the middle of town. Anyway, I'm going to move on. It was
It's
a
in
good
town.
location. Look, there are some nicer spots in Kununurra where you can actually camp on the river, and you can camp on locations that have a bit more, water frontage. But if we're talking about pet friendliness, let's just start with pet friendliness. This campsite is extremely pet friendly. Not only do they have a actual run on site where you can play with your dog or your cat, mostly the dog. You can play with the dog, throw the ball, and then keep them away from all of the people. And this is going poorly for me today.
Oh,
All right,
mate,
Dan, take over.
you're on fire. You're on fire. All right, let's go. So, Kununurra Town Caravan Park. We love the fact that it had excellent service. The lady at the front desk was super welcoming.
Yeah.
We did notice that there was a pooch behind the counter as well. Obviously not serving the customers, but there was a pooch there. And we asked around. She basically said, "Oh, this is our dog mining service." So it's fantastic to know that that was an option. Because if you are going out into town, even if you don't have a powered site, at least the pet can be in an air-conditioned premise, which is a real helpful thing when it's, a steam room.
And Kununurra is a little hub for a lot of adventure tours. So people do go and visit the Bungle Bungles, Lake Argyle, the Ord River. They do ferries and all different kinds of things, flights and ferries and all of the 4x4 adventures. So you might actually be stuck in a situation where you want to be able to, have your pet minded. And how amazing that the caravan park that we were staying at would just take your pooch. And she was such a lovely girl. She's like, look, I don't run them around and I'll take them out for the toilet, but they're in the aircon, like they're
Mate,
nice.
that dog, that little poodle
was
happy as a pig in poo. It was just laying there sprawled out under the aircon, just having a great
just
time.
Loving life because belly scratches and a bit of aircon, that's all we can ask for.
What we also liked about this caravan park was it had the best rates in town, by quite a margin as well. Plenty of shade, good facilities, very clean. What more could you sort of wish for?
Yeah, there's nothing fancy about it. And, literally the sites were very big and we were lucky to be there again in the shoulder season. So there was pretty much no one there.
Yep. And it's also just a short walk to town, so you can just leave your ride behind and go for a stroll.
And most of the tours will pick you up from this caravan park, which is another little bonus. So top ticks for that caravan park.
Top ticks for that caravan park. In terms of what else there is to do around the Kununurra area, so you've got waterfalls, gorges, hikes, fishing spots and tours in the surrounding areas. Granted, we were pretty tired at this stage after 15 days on the Gibb, or 16 days. So we decided not to overstretch ourselves with a heap of activities. And we, in particular around the Bungle Bungles, we were umming and ahhing as to whether we would go there by road. And we just decided we cannot handle mentally any more damage to the car or caravan. Not that there was a lot of damage, but just that stress and little things going wrong here and there and needing to fix things. We were sort of done with rough roads for a little while.
Well, on that note, we actually did have to get our caravan fixed.
We did.
In Kununurra after the Gibb. I think in the last episode, if you were following, we had a bit of a leak in the roof that freaked us out. We thought the whole roof was going to cave in. But when we got to Kununurra, we met quite the nice Irish man and he was able to fix our problem very cheaply and it's lasted. Actually, we haven't repaired our roof since then.
And we've been through quite a few storms.
So look, we were not wanting to do any more crazy roads, but Kununurra was, that's another little top tip for Kununurra is the mechanic and the caravan people were really good there, actually.
I've popped up the name of the workshop in which we took it to. They served us very, very quickly. And like I said, they did not try and stuff us around in any way, shape or form. So highly recommended if you do cop a bit of damage on the Gibb. Pay them a visit, give them a buzz in advance, and they'll be happy to help you out. So good place.
So if we're not going to tackle the road to the Bungle Bungles, we were still kind of contemplating what can we do in Kununurra that kind of we don't have to go driving on any crazy ass roads.
And the good part is we did get our Bungle Bungle tour, but more on that later. So in terms of the top things that we could do close to Kununurra, no visit is complete without an Ivanhoe River crossing.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So this is known as one of the top water or river crossings in Australia, and sometimes it can be closed because they will close it either if there's been too much rainfall or if they are releasing water from the dam nearby. Lucky for us, the day we decided to go, it had just opened up. We checked online and it was good to go, and off we went. It's only about a 10-minute drive along the bitumen road from Kununurra. You can take your pet, so in this case,
pet friendly, even though there's crockies.
So in this case,
saltwater crocodiles, guys.
That's right. We did take Wally. We left Paprika behind because we figured he needed a bit of a rest after the Gibb. And onwards we went. So, Anita's mentioned now that there's crocodiles there. It is a big hotspot. So if you are taking photos and footage like we are, obviously stand right back from the bank and be careful fishing anywhere near the bank as well. But as the name suggests, being a water crossing, it is fundamentally a vehicular activity. So you will need to bring your vehicle. You can also bring your caravan if you so choose. We saw a few people doing it. But in this case, we just went with our Hilux And
I think we even saw people fishing,
we did.
which was a bit
Off the
dangerous
actual
to me.
causeway.
Yeah, which to me was like, okay, guys, like we know that, fishing is a big part of a lot of people's lives on the road, but do we need to take this kind of risk?
Yep,
Each to their own.
that's right. Yeah. The barrow wasn't even that abundant at that time of year. A lot of people were saying that there wasn't
They
a lot
weren't
of
getting
fish
many
going
bites,
around.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
I don't
anyway,
know.
so, well, you weren't even in the car. You were
No.
taking photos from the bank, so I guess I should talk about it
I think
more.
I was too nervous to even go across, honestly. I mean, I let him take the dog, which is probably bad bad dog mum. No, to be honest, I think, obviously if you're going to do it, you want to, get it
Photographied? Oh, mate, you're on fire
I'm
today.
on fire today. So you want someone to take a photograph. There was no one really around to help us, so I decided I would be the photographer and therefore minimise my risk of falling into the saltwater crocodiles.
Yeah. Well, luckily you do have gauges to see how deep the water is.
Yeah.
And that day when I went, it was 500 mil deep. So it was okay. It wasn't too deep, wasn't too shallow. Made for some great footage.
Yeah.
Beautiful drive.
But it is different to other river crossings because it's flowing.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
like we did 500 at the El Castro Gorge, but you're kind of just driving through stagnant water. Whereas this, it's like flowing quite strongly from the dam. So if you're not keeping the right momentum, the car kind
good
of
point.
moves quite a bit. And so when I'm watching, I was kind of like screaming out, keep going!
You couldn't
Keep
just
going.
use the UHF like a real bushy, hey?
But it was like, you could just, like, because Dan's obviously driving. I don't know what he was experiencing and what he was feeling, but I was watching and I could just see the back. Like, sometimes he actually did a really great job, but I was like, you've got my dog with you. And him, of course.
Look at you giving full drive tips to the internet. I love it. How far you've come.
It was quite interesting because, obviously driving through deep water is
Yep.
one thing, but driving through flowing from the dam, like you have to take a little bit more into consideration with this crossing. And I guess that's why it's on the top lists of kind of hardcore four-wheel drive river crossings, right?
Yeah. Yeah, look, to be honest, it was a fantastic drive. I did feel the pull of
Yeah,
the
you
water.
could definitely see that happening.
And I reckon like if you were towing a big caravan, you'd really feel that pull.
Yeah.
So it's so important to just keep that momentum up. Obviously not too fast, so you don't flood whatever is in the front.
And there's not as much grip, right? Because it's not rocks.
Yeah, it's not
like,
rock,
rocks
yeah.
you kind of can climb and stuff, whereas this is just like a causeway.
Yeah,
so
it's a causeway. And there's actually two causeways with a little island in the middle. So you can see from the footage I'm putting up from the dash cam, it is made up of two areas. But yeah, look, great little day out, or morning out.
Yeah.
Had a good time, did it a few times with Wally.
Yeah, got a couple of angles.
He was none the wiser, and highly recommend it if it's open, particularly if you need a bit of an underbody wash for your car anyway. What a better way of doing it. Actually, I think because it's tidal, maybe
might
it's
be salt.
semi-saline. Anyway, there's a
Scrap
car
that.
wash in town as well for that.
Scrap that.
So where else did we go? I think we were thirsty by about late morning and decided
think-
to meet someone special there.
Yeah, by this point, our friends Jaden and Jess had actually caught up with us, and they were in Kununurra for the night. And so we all decided that we were well and truly needing to wet our whistles. That's right. Is that the right one?
I think so.
'Cause I suck
Well,
with
English
these.
is my second language, so you tell
See,
me.
I suck with all of these sayings, don't I, guys? So I hope that was the right one. Wet our whistles. That sounds right.
Some
so we
connotations
decided,
going on there as well.
Anyway,
yeah.
so we decided we'd go down to the Hoochery Distillery, and this is also a pet-friendly place. Not necessarily comfortable for your pets, though, because if it is the beautiful weather of Kununurra, where a 37-degree day feels like a 50-degree day, it is boiling hot. And pooches are restricted to the outside area.
And you are too.
Yeah, exactly. So if your pooch has to stay outside, then you probably have to stay outside. There is an air-conned area, but dogs aren't allowed. So if you're a pet owner, you're going to be outside. So just keep it in mind. There is a little bit of shade, and they did let us come into the shed that day. Look, you're not usually supposed to, but particularly how hot it was that day, they let us in. Main thing is, though, they had rum, gin, and probably some other stuff that I can't remember because by the third one, I think we're probably done for. They do some really amazing tasting flights with all kinds of different gins and rums that they've, got all different spices and all of the good stuff, guys. So that was nice. We had a little a cocktail flight. So like gin and tonic mixing cocktails, rum and, you know, whatever they were mixing. I can't remember exactly, but it was absolutely delicious.
Even Wally had a good time. Not only was he the star of the show and the centre of attention, not just for our table, but for the surrounding tables of children, he also got a very special drink himself. It was a tap water on the rocks. And when it's close to a 40-degree day, no doggo will be happier than tap water on the rocks.
The staff was so lovely to bring some ice out for the doggo. They definitely love dogs there, but unfortunately being a hot place, you just have to be a little bit careful. But there's dog bowls all waiting around there, so they love having poochers come to visit. So this is definitely another top pet friendly kind of adventure.
Only 8 minutes from town as well, so it's super close.
And I think you can actually eat there as well, but it's kind of like tapas style, not like big main dishes and stuff. But if you're hungry, there's food to be eaten as well.
So after you have filled your bellies with some delicious alcoholic beverages, you can go for a bit of a swim in Kununurra. Now, obviously,
sounds crazy.
Yeah, don't go swimming in the Ord River, please.
Please don't just go swimming anywhere without double checking where you're going, and definitely don't let your pooch go swimming anywhere.
But you can go to the aptly named Swim Beach.
And it's called Swim Beach for a reason. It is a pet-friendly, well, dog-friendly. I don't think the cat was interested in going
Cat
there.
was still very much not interested.
Very much not interested. He was in an air-conditioned little spot at home, and yes. But Wally was loving life, being able to cool off in the river.
Only 5 minutes from town. It's just a stone's throw, and it is actually fed. Well, it is actually a part of Lake Kununurra itself. So there's no real easy ways for crocodiles to make their way from the Ord River onto this dam. There are protection mechanisms and barriers, and I think the last croc that was caught there was years and years ago.
Yeah,
so it is a safe spot. We saw children swimming and doggos.
Yeah.
We obviously survived and lived to tell the tale. So, you know.
Anywhere in, you know, croc territory, though, if you always check the signs before you go into any waterways, because there are those odd occasions where crocs are spotted in places they're not supposed to be. So that's one of the main things. But this is an off-leash area too, so you can really give the dog a good run and, swim, which is great.
Yep. So the next day, and as promised, we're going to tell you about how we ended up going to the Bungle Bungles without taking any crappy corrugated roads any further.
So Wally and Paprika were well looked after by the campsite, so we were all good. And we were going on a sunset trip. So sunrise trip. So nice and early in the morning. Now, how did we manage to do that? How did we get there so fast? How did we do this, Stan?
Well, considering it's about a 5-hour drive, and we've left our pets in the caravan, so obviously we've left them there for a very limited amount of time. How else could we do it? Lo and behold, the gorgeous beauty of air travel.
Yes. So Kununurra is known to have two kind of, scenic airlines that, do all of these amazing tours. And we were able to get a tour last minute with Kimberley Air. Kimberley Air. And to be honest, quite a reasonable price. Again, shoulder season, not as many demand. So it was, great. It was a Bungle Bungles, Lake Argyle, and
the Argyle mine.
The mine, yeah. So we'll literally get to see pretty much everything from the air.
And trust me, guys, it is so worth it.
Yes.
If you calculate how much fuel you're going to use to Bungle Bungles and back, obviously you'll come to a figure that is going to be substantially less than the airfare tickets. But if you take into account the stress and suffering that you'll have to go through to get to the Bungle Bungles by road, because we'd heard it is the worst road in all of Australia, like next level, way worse than the Gibb and all of its side roads. We were just not interested. So I think it was maybe double the price of, an expedition once you took into account pet boarding and stuff to go away for a few days. We just decided, stuff it, we'll do it. And it was one of the highlights of our entire lap around Australia.
Absolutely. And to be honest, it wasn't the right time of the year really to do any of the hikes in the Bungle Bungles. So that is one of the things that we suffered. We didn't get to do some of the things that we probably would have done.
Yes. I suffered from lack of very long hot hikes. Suffered.
All right, I suffer. I'm the one that likes hiking, in case you haven't been told by now. So look, there was some things you'd like to see from the ground, but we couldn't do it. It was the wrong time of the year. It's way too hot. It's quite exposed, the Bungle Bungles. So this was a really, really good option. And it obviously isn't pet friendly. Pets were at home, but it only took about 2 to 3 hours for the whole entire tour. To be honest, a lot of the tour is just getting there because these scenic planes do take a long time to kind of
They are
get
propeller
anywhere.
planes. No, nobody's flying jets
Yeah,
here.
but thankfully they do kind of go over the whole of Kununurra region. You can see all of the farming, and the pilot gives us a good little idea of like cotton being farmed in the region. And it used to be sandalwood, which was a bit more popular in the old days, and now it's kind of becoming less popular. So they're sort of converting farms into cotton, and then we were going over the the Ord Rivers irrigation area, the diamond mine, and we were getting, the whole time the tour was being, over the speakers. Narrated, that's what I'm trying to say. So we were getting a bit of information, learning a little bit about the town, learning about even the Aboriginal culture and a bit of history. And then when we got to the Bungle Bungles, it was, it's mind-blowingly beautiful.
So incredible.
And to be honest, from the ground, you probably wouldn't get the whole scope of the region because you get to see all of the different colours and the shapes, and it's just gorgeous, honestly.
Yeah, we had such a ball, and I think overflight of the Bungle Bungles itself was about 10 to 15 minutes, so you don't get a huge amount of time there because it is still quite far, but what a place, and no regrets whatsoever, especially the Kimberley Air guys. Like, that pilot that we had was just so knowledgeable and such a warm person. So it was actually even quite warm in the plane itself, because down on the ground it was like 40, up in the air it wasn't much better, but at least it was a breeze.
Yeah. But just seeing the colours of the orange and the black, the domes, I've never seen anything like that. It's quite unique to Australia. It's quite unique that in anywhere that we've travelled, and we've travelled to quite a few places.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it before. So
it'd be awesome to come back
unique.
and visit in on the ground at some point.
Absolutely.
But yeah, definitely, if you are weighing up this option between going on the ground and going up in the air, you will still see so much.
If you can do both, then that's the best. That would be
that's
the best
the dream.
way. Yeah, that would be awesome. And I guess, so once that little trip was kind of over, we were ready to move on. And we were nearly at the end of our trip in WA. I couldn't believe it. And on the way, there was something beautiful that we could stop by that is extremely pet friendly, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And it was Lake Argyle.
And it just so happened to be the AFL Grand Final day.
Yes.
Lucky us. And being from Victoria, we do follow the footy, so that's generally not something that we would miss unless there's a very good excuse to do so. Yeah. And, Jaden and Jess, our good friends, they were actually staying up in the Lake Argyle Discovery Park, and they invited us over to the pub on site to watch the Grand Final.
And after a quick check, finding out that it was actually pet friendly, we were able to bring the pooch with us, which was awesome. So Wally joined us, and I think Paprika even... Was Paprika with us?
Nah, he wasn't. He was still a bit upset after
So this was just before we were leaving. So I think he was like, nah, I've had enough of you. I think we tried to see if he would come with us, and he freaked out at the sight of the bag.
Well, we also figured, there was a big drive to Darwin ahead. Yeah. So we'll just give him an extra day in the caravan and just let him chill in the AC. And you really do have to read the pets that way, don't you? On the road. Absolutely.
Paprika sometimes is super, super confident and wants to walk around, and other times he's just don't want a bar of it. So... The good thing about Lake Argyle and Discovery Parks, we could watch the grand final at their, it's like a bar, I guess, a bar and restaurant with Wally. And that was really cool.
Yeah, the drinks weren't cheap, but
it
was still quite a hot day, and we had a great time. And after that, we basically moved on to going for a bit of a scenic drive around Lake Argyle. So you can come... Actually, Lake Argyle itself, I think it's one of the largest dams in the country, if not the largest, possibly. Anyway, it's absolutely massive. 703 square kilometres. It's huge. When you rock up, you're like, wow, this is impressive. Mm-hmm. Pretty outback scenery. You've got a really nice contrast of colours. You've got your red rocks. You've got green trees. I think there was even pine trees there. And, of course, the deep blue waters of Lake Argyle itself.
And when we were actually flying in the air, when we were doing our Bungle Bungles tour, the guy had actually explained to us that a lot of the land around there is actually cattle stations as well. So it's really cool. It does feel really Australiana and outbacky vibes, doesn't it?
Yep.
Even though there's this big body of water. It's just really, really raw and
Yeah,
So-
and you just know that you'll never run out of, like, you'll never be thirsty there.
Never be thirsty. But believe it or not, like, it's actually really pet friendly. There's places for the pooch to swim. I think we went to most of the lookouts, which were all pet friendly.
Yep. Yeah, there's only like one road in and out, so it's pretty easy. You've got
Yeah.
Vista Lookout, you've got the Argyle Dam Wall, and you've got the Dam Wall picnic area, which, yeah, depending on how the flow is, might be okay to swim, might not. Yeah, it's just take a read of the area, but definitely well worth a visit. Take a picnic, spend the day there. It was a great day out.
Yeah.
And I guess after that, our WA adventures were drawing to a conclusion,
Yeah.
and it was time to go to the Northern Territory, which is where we'll bring you our next episodes.
If
from.
you're ready for some real croc stories, they're on their way.
The crocometer will go straight up. Crocometer, that's a good one.
Crocometer.
Crocometer.
It's also freaking hot.
Absolutely.
More heat on the way, guys.
Yay. Let us know what you thought in the comments. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you as ever for your support and for watching us. Till next time, we'll catch you later.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.